We are up. Guys, thank you for joining Tuesday evening. If you're Eastern Standard Time, it's 7 o'clock. If you're somewhere else around the world, it's a different time zone for you. And Maclin, you go by Maclin, you go by Mac?
I go by Mac. My name is Maclin Bilski. Hi, everybody. I'm a local Cleveland artist.
And you're no longer in that Pacific time zone. You're back to Eastern Standard, huh?
Yep. I was born and raised here. Born in Fairview, raised in Lakewood, and then Westlake. So I kind of just felt like it was time to follow the fork in the road back home. You know, Odysseus had a great journey, and he ended up back. Where was he from? Ithaca?
Sounds right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, you know. We'll go with Ithaca. He had a long journey, went home. So.
And so we're going to dive into Mac's journey and his, kind of his creative beginnings and kind of where you're at today. And a detour, which sounds exciting, and exciting that you find your way back with maybe a focus that's you might not have had otherwise.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that I've picked up out there, and then definitely I'm very focused on something important to me.
Gotcha. So if you guys are out there, if you share this video, and down in the bottom, I think it's the bottom right-hand screen there on Facebook, you can share it. You could share it to a group, share it to your friends list. You could share it to specific people as well. And if you share this week, we'll put your name in a drawing, and then next week there'll be you want to talk to us?
I can talk about it now. I mean, we're gonna talk about it on the show, but we're gonna be giving away one of these handcrafted mind books. This is my specialty. It is a recycled paper, also made with hemp paper. Writer-friendly, poet-friendly, artist-friendly, thinker-friendly, for people who like to think on their feet. Notepad. Comes in 3 different sizes, and this is the smallest one, but it fits great in your pocket, fits great in your hand. And for me, it's been the best place to put all my thoughts when I have that really good one that I don't want to get my phone out for.
That's awesome. And Beth and my kids and my friends could go, oh, this would be right up Roger's alley because I've got note cards everywhere. So some of my best poems and stuff I wrote while driving, and it was like on the passenger seat, right? I mean, sometimes when it happens, you just gotta drop it out. So
environmentally friendly.
Environmentally friendly. And way more efficient than corn floss, but we'll go into that one another time.
It was worth a try.
Beth is extremely green, and I completely love it. So this talks to her voice and speaks her voice and mind as well. So if you share this, your name will be put in a drawing, and we could draw your name, and we'll be sending you. These are Mind
books.
Books.
That's the Mind Book Mini.
Mind Book Mini.
Take a little page from Apple's book.
Nice, nice. So share this, but we also have a giveaway from last week. So last week, Beth and I drove down to Canton. It was about an hour south of here, and we met with Kurt and his wife Heather Rogers. And in 2018, he bought a lathe, and he started turning wood. And he has a passion for finding logs out in the middle of nowhere, finding the ones that have the right, to open them up, to find the right grain, to find the right color.
In the right direction, all that,
And so his excitement was something that was contagious to me. And so we had met him and his wife, but we went down to Canton to see his studio, and he showed. And let me show this to you because this is really cool. Take a look at that. So what he did
here. Is this a wine stopper?
It's a wine stopper.
This is beautiful.
So he had a sour gum seed in the middle. He then epoxied it inside, and then he turned it out, and so all that shape is what you're getting from the inside of that sour gum. It looks like honeycomb.
Yeah,
it's great. So so that was one of the things he given. And so if your name's in here, you have the option of getting drawn.
It has to be that one.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna throw it. All right. Sorry.
Just to make sure it's really random.
Yes, this is one of those
collapsible
ones. So it jumped right out of my hands. All right, Mac, you get to pick the big winner for the swine stopper.
Okay, and I got this one. This is going to
Just Adenich. Jess, congratulations, a long-time supporter. Thank you for pulling her name. I'm sure she's happy clapping right now.
Absolutely.
So,
congrats, Jess.
yeah.
I hope you like wine.
Yes.
Christmas is coming up if you don't. So. That's a great craft.
Yeah.
The lathe is one of my favorite things. I've always been amazed how people can. I mean, you have to apply this most like definite pressure, but without too much, right? Just in case you burn through the whole thing. I love it.
And the one thing that impressed me is sometimes he did some epoxy and wood work together. And
like
so,
the balls that you can kind of see into the wood where it's the cutout has been filled with epoxy.
yeah, and sometimes he had some wood that may have had holes or crevices in it that he filled with epoxy, and then he turned it. And so to have wood and epoxy turning at the same time, to me, that's just an amazing application of his craft. But thank you, Kurt, Heather, for having us last week. This week, we're here to talk to Mac and about his journey from beginnings to current. But I always start off with a question, and it's one to ponder. And I know that you like to ponder, right?
I sure do.
And so if you had to apply your creativity to only one medium for the next 12 months, one medium, what would next 12 months? And that's a loaded question,
It
but
sure is.
What would that be and why?
I can kind of bend some stuff here because of what I think my number one is. I feel like I have some sort of story to tell and a way to bring light to other people's stories. So what we're doing right here is very much a podcast. I am extremely interested in that space, and I believe in the people around me, my family, my friends, artists I've come to meet, talented people in all of their fields, business people. I would call them CEOs, marketing people, social media experts, you name it. I think I would put everything into podcasting if it was for the next 12 months. Just for the next 12 months, because I want to paint a lot. That's my second one. I want to paint every day I wake up. I do some sort of something. I would say that's the very close second, but the way I'm going to get around your question is we paint on the podcast. So
Love it.
That's kind of, I'm beating you at your own game, I guess, but that's how I would win here.
We artists like to hear what the rules are and find ways to solve the problem, right?
I love it.
I love that answer.
I've never listened. I've always thought that they were for the guidance of fools and for the strict obedience of fools and for the guidance of wise men. Yeah. I heard that somewhere and it's kind of stuck with me. I like rules. I think they make sense sometimes, but when it comes to art, what are the rules there?
Yeah.
There's no rules.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
We blaze our own trails, right?
Absolutely.
Born and raised here in Cleveland, Ohio, right? Somewhere along the line, were your creative beginnings, and so take us back there, whatever that is. I mean, some people might go, it is really early. So tell me.
I got it. So I'm 25. Most people can't tell that by the way I look. I'm 25, and I distinctly remember. Well, I don't remember the year, but I was either 10 or 11 years old. Mm-hmm. A neighbor friend of mine brought out her dad's camera and took, I think, 7 pictures of me and my friend doing the robot. And it was those 7 pictures that made a short little animation, stop motion, of us doing the robot. And from that moment on, I had been fascinated with cameras. I always wanted to take pictures, not really be in front of the pictures, just how I was as a kid. But it was that moment. Thank you, Mary, for bringing a camera to me, I suppose. And from then on, I've just kind of been behind a camera. And, thankfully, I think around 12 for sure, I was recording my first ever YouTube videos with my good friend Logan, who I've been in great contact with over the past my life. I guess he's been my best friend for a long time. But we just started filming videos then and didn't care what anyone had to say about them because it was fun. So that was the start.
So it was just about making them, right, and kind of doing the reps, learning the creativity, the creative process, and then making videos, camera. You find yourself in school along those lines. Did you pursue kind of creativity and?
Not in school.
Okay.
Never in school, which was so surprising to me. At least until my senior year of college, I didn't really take any creative classes. Never been to art school. I mean, I took drawing class in high school, but that was a one-off class.
Yeah.
I always did this stuff outside. I didn't think that there was, this might be a bad way to say it, but I didn't think there was much that people could teach me about this new thing that we were doing. YouTube videos were so unique in kind of the arena that they were conquering, which is this online attention sphere. And it was just the very beginning, so no one knew anything. And we were making videos for no particular reason other than to have fun. And considering there were no classes about that, I said, screw it, I'll do it myself. I can learn how to edit everything on YouTube. I picked up Windows Movie Maker pretty simply. And I just taught myself. I'm a good learner, so I guess the application of my ability to learn into creative endeavors, such as videography and photography early on, that's kind of the way I looked at it. School wasn't the place for it for me, just the school of life.
So you, was it an Ohio college that you went to?
I went to Miami of Ohio.
Miami of Ohio, so your senior year of college, you find yourself graduating, and where did it go from there?
Well, actually graduated early. So the reason I was prepared to graduate my junior year, and senior year I had plenty of time and some money left over. So rather than leave and get out of there and leave all my friends behind, it was better to stay. And I took some creative classes. I took a music production course. I took a video editing course to really solidify my skills. And really dove into working with the fashion club at Miami. There's a really good fashion program there to work with people who want to be models as I was becoming a photographer. I actually studied botany at Miami. So I was on track to go into the viticulture and enology world, study wines and how to grow grapes and have my own winery eventually. For my senior graduation gift, I took a trip to Hawaii. And on that trip, I met a person with a camera that was one step above where my camera was. He let me borrow it. I took a picture, and for whatever reason, it clicked, pun intended, that I should pursue photography as something that really could, grow and cultivate my entire career around that. So yeah, that trip to Hawaii, I want to thank my friend Josiah. I've thanked him a million times, but he really kind of, just that one spark was able to take me to the next level where I decided from that moment on, I was going to go back to college. I was going to ride out the rest of the semester, but only focus on applying for jobs that were in the creative sphere as far as photography goes.
Yeah.
From there, I took a job with Major League Baseball, of all things. I played baseball my entire life, so it was pretty interesting to join them. And I moved to Colorado in April of 2017. Left all my friends behind, which is something I didn't want to do, and pursued a life in that realm, and took pictures for baseball players for about 3 months. Then I quit.
Did how was that?
Awful.
Awful, yeah.
For me, I'm the fly by the seat of my pants creative. I like to take weird angle pictures. I don't even look sometimes. I don't like a sense of structure in the creative space that I'm in.
Yeah.
Of course, I like four walls and a roof, good lights and camera angles that work for me. But as soon as I can set the scene, I let the free-flowing motion of me capture what I'm capturing. So when I show up at the same scene every single day, day in, day out, it's not too thrilling to capture the same game of chess every single day. Yes, the positions might be different. But the mental stimulation, I'm a person that's, I'm moving quick. I think a lot. That's probably my greatest blessing and curse. But just being kind of in that regimented same thing every single day, for the creative person I am, it didn't work.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it works for some people. Did not work for me.
That's a really valuable lesson to learn in your 20s, right? I mean, what you don't want to do
Yes.
is probably, I would say, is is of incredible value.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what, my mom always says the same thing. You got to take the job so you can figure out exactly what you don't want to do so that you're never saying, oh, I don't want to do that based on a thought. It could be based on an experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Colorado?
Loved it.
Loved the space, especially,
Outdoors.
You appear to be
nature.
outdoorsy, a botany
absolutely.
major, and you're in Colorado.
I
and
love to hike. I love mountains. Nature photography is my favorite of the photographic arts because Mother Nature will never ask you to Photoshop her wrinkles. So that's been kind of my draw there. And Colorado, just everywhere you look, you have mountains, you have plains, unique animals, whatever it is, Colorado pretty much has it. So I loved it. After there,
were you ripped away from Colorado, or?
Maybe you could speak on this. The artist journey will take you to some strange places.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, on one of the last days I was in Colorado, I went to a Bon Iver concert. Are you familiar with the band?
No.
It's spelled Bon Iver.
Okay.
Maybe you would have seen it. I don't know. They're folk, kind of electronic these days. Brilliant music. I actually decided randomly to walk backstage, and one of my favorite musicians and artists of all time is Justin Vernon, who's the lead singer. He's an incredibly talented human being. And I introduced myself, shook his hand, had a great conversation, actually rapped some lyrics that I've turned over in my head. And his advice for me, I always ask people that I meet like that are, major idols or inspirations, what advice do you have for someone like me? I'm still at the beginning of my journey at this point. And his advice was, you can live in some weird ways. And I have no idea what that means still, but I'm figuring it out as I go. And that kind of meant to me that I should take a chance on the things that were really drawing on my heartstrings, namely going back to, it's always coming back home, right?
Yeah.
I always tend to leave, and for some reason, I'm on time number 2 now. I always tend to leave, and then I come back over to the period of time. And after that, I went and lived up on the islands in Lake Erie for one summer. Pretty much just spent the whole time there reconfiguring what I was supposed to be doing with my life. I'd gone through a tough breakup that kind of hurt me a little bit. Mm-hmm. And as any good artist would do, I created through the pain and learned a lot more about producing music, learned a lot more about the photography that I was trying to take pictures of, or the scenes I was trying to take picture of, namely the island. And over the next year and a half, I stayed in Cleveland, creating all sorts of different things. It was that next February that I made my first ever painting. That was huge. It was like a 5-foot by 12-foot painting. First ever, like I hadn't done anything else. And really just dove into what it meant to be a full creative in photography and music and painting and writing all the time and sharing my thoughts and myself with the internet and the world. And just really pouring it all out, I suppose.
So first painting,
Yep.
canvas, giant canvas. That's just the opposite of where most people start. Most people are starting small, right? And they're trying to learn the medium, and you're like, no, give me the big.
Think big.
Think big, and
Yep. It's been the motto for a long time. I like to write really large. Mm-hmm. I like to paint really large. I love when my photography is blown up on a huge print. I think scale does something to the viewer. To me specifically, when I look at large things, I'm awestruck most times. Depending on, of course, what the art is. Tall buildings. I feel like at some point I have an architecture mindset, and I just look at everything from how was it built, how did you do this, how did it come to be. But that big painting, it was 3 separate canvases, 3 4x5s. It was very elementary in color. It was primary blue, yellow, and red with some greens, a lighter blue, a whole bunch of symbolism and a whole bunch of relevancy to the music that I created at the time. I've never been able to make just a single of music at one particular moment. I always have to make an album. I don't know how to describe that other than why make a single when I can do the whole project?
Yeah.
So the album Solemnly I Rise kind of went through this whole longing, pouring out of past emotions, releasing the sadness of that breakup, and talking about where I'm trying to go, what I'm looking to do, how I'm feeling about my current situation, which was frustrated because I wasn't getting everything I wanted. And the question is, why do I always have to be so patient for everything? And it still seems to be the case. I think being the son of a doctor, the thing I'm supposed to learn the most is how to be patient. So yeah, just learning how to be patient, and rather than waste time on kind of doing the little stuff, I said, screw it, let's go as big as I can possibly go, and poured all the symbolism and meaning and lyricism and connected parts from the whole album. I mean, I wish I would have brought that. I don't even know where it is.
Does the music and the painting go together?
Yes,
in other words,
absolutely. So there's a whole video of it. The song on my YouTube channel is called Blind Man, and it kind of goes through the process of how I painted it. And you don't really get to see all the connections because they probably only make sense to the person who, the puppeteer that draws the strings.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of interwoven things all throughout the album. I'm talking like the Beatles play a major part in it, Blue Jay Way, if you know that song, and just all of these, you grab from a bunch of different places, you put them in one pot, and you boil the thing together to make a nice dish to serve to people. It was a first attempt at all this kind of stuff, a big painting, a whole album. I think it was my third album that I've self-produced, and the painting was the first, but in conjunction, I loved the whole thing, and it taught me a lot about how to create a visual element or component to something that's not visual. I mean, the music needed something to go with it to tie it all together, and apparently it was a painting.
Yeah.
Still have it. Still, I never sold it. I don't know what to do about selling that kind of work.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a little too close to the heart,
I would imagine that what you're describing is what many viewers can relate to, and that is that we creatives don't speak the same language as other people, and very often it's not even verbal. And so to say, please describe the painting, how it fits verbally, you're like, but it's very often my thoughts are not verbal. I can't verbalize them accurately.
Yeah.
And so it sounds as though, as you're describing this, it's...
The good thing with this painting is it's almost all words. So on it, it's just a graffiti style, paint the big words, put little words in there. I wrote all of the lyrics to it underneath. So it's an attempt at making a very visual representation for someone to understand what I was feeling at the time. That's kind of I can show you here. I know other people can't see this as well, but this is kind of a redux on that style.
Oh. Hey, Beth, see if we can pull this up. See if...
So these are called micro expressions, and if you're familiar with what it means to be looking at someone while you're having a conversation with them, and a eyebrow raises or a smirk crosses their face, a micro expression is very telling of what's going on within someone. These are very telling of me. The few that I've sent out already have been very emotionally outpouring moments for me. I don't know. There's a lot of me in them. They might be small. They're only 2.5 by 3.5, baseball card size. But that's why I call them micro expressions, because there's a lot in there of how I'm feeling and what's going on. It's been quite the adjustment coming back from Los Angeles. We haven't really gotten to that point yet, but I think we're getting to that conversation.
Yeah. So hearing of your first painting, hearing of the many projects you jump in, you think big, right?
Think big.
You think big. And you think small too, right? I mean,
I do.
With micro expressions. Colorado, you're taking pictures, right? You're starting to take the creativity, especially imagery, photography, and probably producing, right? Because I mean, you're putting out content.
Absolutely.
Where does that go from there? So Colorado, and then where?
Colorado was the islands.
But back here to the islands.
Yep.
That's right.
And that was here, and then Westlake, where I was from, and then back to the islands in the next summer. And that was just the downtime. That was, for me, self-work, much needed self-work.
Yeah.
It was a unique experience. I don't know many people that get to go spend an entire summer on a isolation point in the middle of nowhere.
Describe the islands. I mean, I know what the islands is.
Yeah,
but
so the islands are in Lake Erie, and they're, as far as I'm concerned, the same sort of biological diversity as the Galapagos Islands. So I consider them the Northern Galapagos. They're very secluded. You have to take a ferry to get there. My house is located in a section where there's a bunch of 1950s, or even before that, probably 1920s Victorian era housing. So old, timeless buildings. The island, only 3,000 people on there. Sense of community. The one thing everyone has in common is that they're going to that island because they love the island. To just be around that energy at all times, secluded away from the world, really took me away from the minutia and the day-to-day problems that we face in an average life, and put me in a unique location that allowed me to go, I want to call it Zen, go find Zen and peace within myself, with a lot of self-building, a lot of reading books and writing out the iniquities within myself to find what I didn't like about how I was living. I don't think I was a bad person, but I think we all have these things that we need to get over in our past. So that's, the term up there is called shadow work. And I did all of that kind of work on the island while I was cutting grass and helping people remove trees from their lawns, and nothing too ridiculous, but definitely a Henry David Thoreau type lifestyle, where all I did was walk around, invent a notepad, and write my thoughts, help people on the island as much as I could.
Yeah.
And that to me has always been something that, when people say, if you're stressed, go to your happy place. Every time I go to my happy place, it's that island. Sure. And that year and a half of kind of being there in the summer, back in Cleveland in the winter, and then back to the island the next summer, really clued me into a different style of life than most people are living. We're moving so fast paced, and I do think fast, but I'm trying to think at a bigger scale. So sometimes the fast gets delayed by the enormity of what I'm trying to create. So having that patience of a timeless world that I was living in allowed me to take a step back from how everyone else is perceiving the world and really apply a different mode of thought to how I live. And every time I come next to someone else, I can kind of share those experiences and have a different way of explaining or expressing what it means to be human, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
So I did all that. And then September.
So you get on the ferry, you're leaving the island September, you're recovered, right? Or...
Well, that was, so October, the 2018 October, left the island, Cleveland, great time. And then, I guess that was 2017, 2018. So 2018 October would have been kind of the last time I was really spending a lot of time up there. Came home, lived in Cleveland, went through the throes of just, having summer ripped away from me.
Yeah.
It's the best place on the planet, when you have to leave your home because it's so cold.
Yeah.
It's kind of bummy. But I went on to create another album with some local Cleveland artists, all friends that I grew up with, an album called Limbo, which was kind of my first real, I want to call it my first real attempt at an album, I guess. Had a lot of people on it, had a lot of fun with it, creating storylines and sharing the content around the whole thing. So I spent a good part of October until January producing that. And I didn't really think about much else. That was kind of just do photography jobs on the side when I could, and make that album. After that, I kind of lugged around a bit. I guess that's my own fault. And it wasn't until May of that year, of 2019, that I went to New York City to visit a friend who wanted me to paint 2 paintings for his apartment. He gave me a 9-day stay, and this is a cautionary tale for any artist out there. I should tell everyone this. If a friend offers you a place to stay in New York and they say, yeah, you can just paint for me in return for the stay, don't do it. At least make them pay for the paintings. I went to New York and painted two of my favorite paintings I've ever painted. Simple pieces, really going through existential, I don't want to call them threats in my own mind, but just questioning the existence of everything, as any young man will do in his life to become an adult. And the ultimate answer I settled on was, in order to exist in this world, you must give of yourself, number one. And what is the point of existence other than to say, I was here? And there's in some parts conflicting ideas, in other hands other ways are perfectly married. But that existential despair and spiraling that I was facing was so bizarre. New York was very difficult for me. And it was after then that I went to visit a girl in San Diego. Things did not work out there. It seems like this is a theme. But because I was so close to Los Angeles, I was able to take a train up and visit some good friends from my past that were able to put a major smile on my face and completely turn my trajectory around from deep despair to ultimate elation. And that's when the LA Chronicles officially started, May of 2019.
Yeah, yeah. Unexpected, right? And you find yourself now. Were you there permanently? Did you move and stay?
So I went to LA. Yeah. Hung out for 2 weeks. No, a week at first, just to get away from the. Again, another breakup. Yeah. That seems to be how it goes. To get away from that, flew back to Cleveland. Really enjoyed my time in Los Angeles. You know, in that week, I brought my camera, so I was taking pictures of awesome people out there. The sun is shining. The pictures are nicer because the air quality is so bad that it, you know, kind of filters the light, that it looks really good. It's true. It's true. The air quality really does diffuse the light. It's unfortunate, but very true. And I flew back, and you know, I'm so grateful that I have great friends that allow me to just crash on the couch. I think I slept on a couch there for the next 2 weeks. Same kind of thing. Took more pictures of really interesting people out there, met even better people, connections, networking, more fun, more smiles, more happiness, beach, sunshine, and just kind of kept going with that mentality. And I think for the next, so that was May, then June, July. Yep. I guess May, June, July, August even, it was like 2 weeks in LA, 2 weeks in Cleveland, 2 weeks in LA, 2 weeks in Cleveland. September time, I decided it was officially time for me to hop on a plane, pack a serious bag, and move myself into this place and set up shop and start claiming that I am an LA resident. Yeah. At least. That I'm taking up space in LA, I should say that. And from September until November was a different story. Not much creation was going on except for training for a major boxing event. So my friend Logan is a professional boxer these days, and he had his second major fight. Part of the training camp there was wake up, get to work, start training. And he was training, I was taking awesome pictures, I'd train when I could, and just kind of keep creation going in that vein. How much can I capture of this process going to this major fight? And I think it was November 9th. Just a lot of creation focused around that event, which was really cool to focus in on one project for that span of time. And then after that, it was just, let's have fun and see what Los Angeles has to offer for the next, how long? I want to say 10 months. I don't even know. I think maybe this is a good point for you to jump in. What else do you? Because there's so much that happened in that time. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot.
So I'm born, raised Cleveland as well. Yeah. Haven't lived in LA, but have several friends and probably several people who are watching who are Clevelanders who went out to LA and spent a good deal of time there. And the pace is different.
Oh yeah,
the pace is different, and I can't speak to that personally. But so you find yourself out there. Is it distraction because everything's going on, or is it like a treadmill turned up at a 5-minute mile?
Ooh.
Or is it both?
Definitely both. It depends on how you handle it. You can get distracted really easily. Thankfully for me, I don't get attracted to the club scene or the nightlife. I'm a daylight kind of person. I want to have face-to-face conversations with people. I want to hear what you're saying. I want to meet the person who I'm talking to, you know? So I'm grateful that I've never really been interested in the nightlife. And that's kind of when you start getting into that, I think you get lost and off track. So I was able to really stay focused on the stuff that I was wanting to do, which is take pictures and make videos and help the people around me make the best content they can. So yes, you can get distracted and thrown off course. I mean, that's what'll eat you up.
Yeah.
If you pander over those bright lights and you want to be on stage and all you want is to be famous, I think it could chew you up, spit you out. My thing was to go there and really provide valuable services for the people that were close to me, and also through that meet a great network of people and continue to provide the stuff that I love to do for them.
So you and Logan knew each other, buds grown up, right?
Since we were 6 or 7, yeah.
You find yourself then out in LA. Logan is fighting.
Yep.
You're providing a chronological journal, right?
Yep.
A photography journal of that path. And then what happens? Because you guys were he was also that partner in crime on YouTube videos, right? And you were doing that, and so now you find yourself out in LA doing this and combining directions and
yes,
yeah.
Let's see. What happened after that was more or less a lot of the same stuff. It's interesting because his life has gone in such a different direction as everyone else in the world, and he's very successful at a very young age. So work days there are a lot more fun than they might be at other places. You kind of wake up and you throw something at the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah.
I think the next major event that kind of happened was New Year's, which is when I drove from Cleveland to Lake Tahoe and then to LA. So officially moving my car to Los Angeles on January 1st of 2020. But in the interim, I mean, all of those days, they're such a blur. When you said the pace is much faster, absolutely. When you're running at that 5-minute mile, you're not looking around at what's passing you by. So it's just, you wake up, you do something fun, it gets put on camera, and you run around, you talk to people, you hang out, you meet new people. It was really an introduction crash course into the city. So I think I spent most of that time just meeting people, making music with anyone who I really could. I was really heavily into music production at that specific time. And then New Year's came, and that was, the first step. That was when I said, okay, now I'm a Los Angeles resident. I really do live here. I'm going to turn the jets up and keep going. And geez, what else? I mean, when I say it's a blur, I mean it's a blur.
It's like a blur.
January, went to a fight in Miami, went crystal hunting, went to New York City again, came back. February, we're getting into the nitty gritty. I think at this time I was just really setting up shop and putting things on this big table in the house and really starting to dive into what painting looked like for me and what it meant for me to be a painter.
And you ended up as a co-host on the world's
Impaulsive, the world's number one podcast.
Number one podcast,
according to the data and the science and the facts. That through the chain of events, I ended up being the third co-host on the show, and felt very comfortable. I felt pretty natural on it. It's always slightly uncomfortable to step in front of a camera when you've never really been on that side. But yeah, that I don't even know when that was. I think that was at the beginning of quarantine when things started to go sour. I mean, that's a whole separate mind tizzy, just being on that show, all of a sudden I went from kind of sitting and watching to now being in front of the lights and having to have a persona and personality in front of a camera. And it was fun. I learned a lot, definitely, about the whole industry of what it means to produce a podcast and really have it be something meaningful for people to enjoy and digest. But yeah, I think that was March until just before I left.
Here's
a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that is a whole lot of steps, right? Literal and figurative steps, right?
Yep.
Into just figuring out, what your journey looks like.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to Impulsive until my daughter said, "Hey, you gotta check these guys out because they're from Cleveland." So I was listening in, and the creative input that you put. So when you would comment, I would lean in because you were speaking a language that resonated with me.
Okay.
And so
That's great to know.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah, and
Someone
so
heard it.
yeah, someone heard it, and it
Yeah.
was. I mean, if it were a literal language, right, and you were speaking German, I understood German,
Yeah.
and I understood where you were going. I could relate to what you were saying. It was speaking my language, and then I click into Mindspace. And I start to just, it was refreshing to see co-host to monologue and creative. So Impulsive, #1 podcast in the world. You're a co-host there.
Yep.
You're in LA.
Yep.
And then the whole virus changes
Yeah.
our world. And then what happens?
Yeah.
Because between then and now,
So that was
Yeah.
a great turning point for me. I think there's a lot of negatives that have come out of this, of course, but a lot of positives.
yeah.
Being blessed and fortunate enough to be in a place where I had everything at my disposal, a music studio, photography area studio kind of thing, and a big table where I was starting to really take hold of what it meant to handcraft these and sell them on the internet. That's when I decided I had to turn up the jets on the videos that I had been producing for myself, in the name of Mindspace on YouTube. And that was when I said, all right, I'm going to make 1, 2, 3 videos a week as best as I can to share the thoughts that are traveling through me, so I can hopefully speak the language that you're hearing to more people. I think more people like to hear about it and understand what's going on in the mind of someone like me or yourself. And that time allowed me to cut out every single thing else.
Yeah.
I wasn't meeting up with anyone. I wasn't talking to other people. I was simply locked down at the house, focused on my artwork, my business endeavors, my business, and the people that were closest to me. So locking that down and figuring out what Mindspace was as a show was hugely important for where it's going now. Because if I didn't have that time to lock in and sit down and spend all the time that I did on that kind of show, it wouldn't be even 1/10 of what it's going to be soon.
Now, were you doing Impulsive and Mindspace simultaneously? Because there's about 100 plus videos on Mindspace, the YouTube channel Mindspace. So you were doing Impulsive and Mindspace at the same time, and they were overlapping.
Yes. So, when you're in a team setting, I show up at the podcast, the Impulsive podcast. I do my best to provide information, inspiration, and after that, that hat's off. I could take it off, and I go sit at the table, and I turn on my camera, and I do something very different than what was being seen on Impulsive. But yeah, it might seem like a lot to have one show in production. I wasn't editing. I wasn't doing any of that kind of stuff on Impulsive. Thankfully, I was just a host. But yeah, when it came to Mindspace, the goal was to innovate a way where I can press one camera button and all of a sudden I'm producing a video for the internet. And over the course of, I want to say, 6 months of really building, because when did I do the August 20-something, August 30th? I can't remember when I made that big painting. I don't know if you saw the Million Little Fingerprints painting.
I was going to say, because that's that's almost a 5-hour stream.
Yeah, well,
right?
It's actually 6 because it got cut off. But the goal was to do exactly what I did there, which is create a masterful piece, or masterful sized piece at least, I don't know if it's a masterpiece. I can't say. Who am I to say? But
And to document the process, right?
to document the process and do it live. So that 6-month period was, how do I gain the equipment that I need in order to make that happen?
Yeah.
So it was all kind of self-designed. I built the gear and the setup and the rig to press the one button, start streaming, and then that's all I had to do.
Yeah.
And it worked. And it's been the greatest thing. So I think the most exciting thing that's going to come next out of that is more of those videos, more painting videos, more sharing about how I do the photography process for myself, because it's unique. I'm certainly a strange photographer. And conversations just like this, exactly what we're doing right now, because after we take these microphones off, you don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
It's just done, and we're casual enough where we're not saying anything that's going to put us in jail or
Yeah.
whatever. So,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah. What artists, or are there artists that influence your work? So if you take a look and you're like, hey, I mean, what is that? And of any artists of any persuasion.
Okay, so the list is long.
Yeah.
The list is very long because I'm in all of these different arenas. I would say people that kind of top my list are Jackson Pollock, without a doubt. Huge inspiration. My name is Maclin Bilski. I also go by Maclin Pollock. Kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the next is Basquiat, of course.
Especially from Cleveland, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Basquiat, I'm sure you can see some sort of element of him in these. I've always been a fan of Picasso. I know these are the greats, but I'm someone who doesn't spend much time researching art history. I more so just want to do the artwork. And the list goes on. I mean, I have thousands of pictures in my phone of things that I've seen from older painters that have come across my screen that I'm just fascinated with. I really do love the old style of, I love Renaissance painters. Leonardo da Vinci comes to mind as far as like things that I'm attempting to do with all of my creative endeavors. Kanye West is on the list, just his creative brilliance. His political aims are interesting, to say the least, but he's fascinating with what he's able to accomplish and been able. He's incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And then we have people like Jay-Z, a local person, Machine Gun Kelly, if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Just local Cleveland person that shows what's possible. Kid Cudi, Mac Miller, another person who's really left an imprint on my life. But then there's, Christopher Nolan as a movie director. Fantastic. Alejandro Jodorowsky, if you're familiar with him.
No.
Fantastic. David Lynch. I like strange films. I like foreign films. And that's the tough part, right? Like all of my inspirations have come from esoteric places, unique foreign films that no one's ever seen before, books that are lost in the back of the library that no one's checking out. I like unique old things that people didn't somehow find beautiful at the time that I can hopefully dig up and pull inspiration from in order to show that there's brilliance and beauty in all parts and all times of our journey together here on Earth. There's a lot. I would say I'm almost inspired by just about everything, whether that's the trees or plants or the philosophy of interwoven roots as they grow over a riverbank. It doesn't matter where it's coming from, but I truly am inspired by just about everything, ugly or beautiful.
Yeah. You've touched and communicate in so many different creative languages. That's unusual that I think somebody bridges so many. What does that, how does that creativeness that you've been blessed with transcend from music to poetry to painting to podcasting to thinking to mind books?
Yeah,
right?
They're all the same. They're all the same thing. A song is a sonic painting. It really is vibrations that your ears are seeing. A video is the same as a picture. Yes, there's less frames, but there's a story being told. A picture's worth 1,000 words. For me, the process always is the same thing. Have an idea, think about how to make it happen, plan how to make it happen, reap the rewards.
Yeah.
I see sounds now because of how I paint. I can feel the drama in a scene that's happening in front of me in my daily life, as well as in a video setting. You know, all of these things start to overlap as I go deeper and deeper into each and every one. It starts with a seed of an idea. Then you sketch out your things. You probably know this as a portrait artist. You draw your under, and then you cover it up with what's next, and then maybe you add your next layer and layer and layer and layer and layer. It's all layers. Everything is built on top of the seed before it, in order for it to grow organically, at least, which is probably my deepest philosophy, is to let everything grow organically. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I've just really found that they really are all the same thing. Yes, it might be painting, which is very different than making a song, but as long as you have your materials and you have the time and you have the energy and patience, you're going to make the thing that you want to make. So I've happened to want to make all of the things.
Yeah. What is your muse? I'm just using that as a general. So in other words, when the muse hits, in whatever,
yeah.
what does that look like, and what do you do with it?
When the muse hits, what do I do with it? Find the best way to convey to that muse what I'm feeling. Because you can't be direct, you know? I think there is direct answers in abstraction. A feeling can be conveyed in the form. I'm an abstract artist for sure. But it's life. I mean, I've always felt that I've been given life in order to live for life, because we're all just life experiencing itself. So how can I show life more? Because the more I've shown life, the more she's rewarded me. And what that means to me is live each day for each day, find all the exciting experiences, good or bad, and do my best to convey them into artistry. I think a lot of it is an internal reflection and desire to create, having all this creative energy and not knowing what to do with it.
Yeah.
It has to come out somehow. Otherwise, I just get internalized and bottled up, and I lose my marbles. You know, you got if you're like a person like me, you have to be creating.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When the muse strikes, I assess what my emotions are, and I reflect on how I should best, I guess the term would be, how should I best reflect those emotions into the outer world?
In whatever form or fashion, right?
Is it painting?
Yeah.
Is it writing? Is it creating hats? Is it making notepads for people? I don't know. I don't ask those kinds of questions of myself. I simply just do the things. Yeah. So.
I love that. If there's any questions out there, feel free to shoot those out. I think that most people are probably just enjoying the conversation and kind of hearing your journey. It's great to hear a fellow artist who is discovering your direction, right? And
yes.
and if we were to regroup in a year or 5 years from now, it'd be different from where you're at today.
I'm sure it would be.
Tell me about you've got a mind hat, you've got your mind pads, you've got socks, you've got, I mean,
Yeah.
I love that brand and Mindspace too. So
Yes,
if you go out to YouTube, look at Mindspace,
That's
and
me.
you're gonna find your 100-some.
I got almost to 100. I'm at 98.
Okay.
So 100 is coming soon. I'll be celebrating soon. But yeah, so these are a couple different sizes. I brought all of them so you could see. And for people at home, I do varying things in mine. So this one is a 5x7 watercolor notebook, I suppose. I write in it. And just thoughts. This one, I mean, slowly uncovering my existence every day as a lesson in the school of life. Curiosity and experience are my teachers. Time reveals the answers to every test I take. My goal is to learn peace, love, joy, passion, patience, prosperity, and clear conscious creativity. I pursue truth in all avenues of my being so that one day I can share that information with the people who need it most. for some reason, this is what's drawn out of me in these pages.
Yeah.
The next one is my first ever oil painting, which I'm very proud of.
Love it.
This is Dolores, and she's been a good friend to me. And then just some abstraction here with the leftover oils from the brush.
It's kind of the artistic bullet journal, sort of.
Yes.
Just whatever is...
Very much an artistic bullet journal. Whatever's on my mind, I want to put it in here. And like I said, it came from an invention. So, this is me. This is iteration 40. This is the best one I've made. How can I walk on an island unencumbered by my cell phone so that I can put my thoughts down when they come to me? As a person with a lot of thoughts, I needed a place to share them. And this became that place. And if you take a picture of this 4x5 journal, it actually lines up perfectly with the dimensions of Instagram. So it made it a lot easier for me to share my thoughts with people who might have been interested.
When we started, I asked the question, if you had just one medium to communicate for the next 12 months, you said podcast. Wrap us up here by telling us what podcast, what Mindspace, what your thoughts are, as well as other avenues, what you're going to be doing in the next 12 months, let's say.
The next 12 months look like this for me. Continue to grow Mind as a brand, really push marketing on the notepads because I think they're fantastic. I really believe in this. I think it's a great way to share your thoughts, even if they're just for yourself. Really ramp up marketing and production on these. Continue to pursue production of clothing for people who are interested in the brand identity of Mind, what it stands for as far as allowing creative opportunities to flow no matter the circumstances. Find a way to make it happen. And think big. As far as the podcast goes, I'm planning to bring on artists, business people, family members, you name it. It's a concentration of the people I've met in my life so that I can continue to have these beautiful conversations and really capture memories that, looking back, I can be reminded of, or that my family can watch when I'm gone. But yeah, for the next 12 months, I'll be really focused on creating a fantastic podcast that will allow the creative people in the scene in Cleveland today to express themselves, as well as share what they're interested in and have conversations like this about the philosophy and inner workings of the journey and how it's all gone. And then, the improvements will come. It will continue to grow as a show. And I have some awesome aesthetic looks that I'm attempting to achieve. And that will only continue to grow as I find the proper studio space for what I'm looking to do. So if anyone out there has a large warehouse or barn or something that they're willing to rent out to me, I'm looking to put all these things in one spot so that I can really let my brain go crazy and paint every single day, make a podcast 2 or 3 times a week, and share the stories of people who mean the most to me.
Yeah. How do we find you outside of Mindspace? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
I would say go to Instagram. My Instagram is @Maclin, Maclin. Simple as that. I'm the first one that comes up. And go to YouTube. I think that's the best way. I do a Sunday live stream on my Instagram channel, and I do a live stream on YouTube as well. That's about once a week right now as I'm finding the studio space that I'm supposed to be working in. So my YouTube is also Maclin. Just search that. Mindspace will come up as well. Instagram, if you want to reach out, say hello. Thanks, Roger, for having me. And absolutely, this has been incredible. Thank you so much.
You're collaborating with some artists as well. Is that?
I sure am.
Yeah. Let's finish up
with them.
Well, yeah. Tell us what your collaborations and your co-projects are.
I got a music album called Dolo coming out with a guy from Cleveland named Malik X, and a beautiful rapper who needs his attention. He's earned it. What else? I got paintings that I'll be sharing soon enough. Not too many collaborations I have some stuff on the way, but I can't talk about it yet.
Yeah, I love that. I can't
talk about that.
I don't talk about that. And we can buy...
You can buy these on my website. My website is maclin.io, or you can go to the official Mind website, which is mind.sx. Really easy to find.
Sounds good.
And I'll leave a comment on this video for sure. We're now friends on Facebook.
Yeah,
so thank you so much. It's interesting to talk to someone who is an artist, and here's what I'm saying after understanding it through experience.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people out there in the world who do understand these things, but the one thing that you said that really inspired a new thought in my head earlier was about the visual language and how you don't necessarily have the words to describe it. Sometimes I feel like in our world, we are on the back of the canvas, and yes, we are painting this thing, but we're on two separate sides of the world. We're seeing one thing and other people are seeing the other. So to have that all work out and have everything be understood is a beautiful thing. And thank you.
Absolutely. And there's a whole lot of people that speak our language and are going to enjoy watching this. So guys, if you would share it, next week we're going to draw a name out, and I'm going to ask Mac to sign a Mind book, maybe just at the top here, so that
Sure.
how about I do this, and we'll be sending out a Mind book next week.
We'll send out two.
Thank you for your generosity, for sharing your journey.
Yeah.
And you guys will see a lot of stuff coming out of Mac here from the Cleveland area. And if you're not in Cleveland and you're from other areas of the world and the country, you'll probably hear a lot of what our community is doing. And I would imagine some collaborations are going to happen between artists in our community. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Thank you for joining and spending your Tuesday night with us. And we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.